Uh, Very good. So we are the early birds.
We are maintaining exactly 11.
Yeah.
So Professor Kiki is also here.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in 2 minutes we will start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Give
Okay.
give 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes we'll
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, Professor Kiki.
Good morning, Dr. Maji. Good morning, Professor Sukumar, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
others.
Good
Yes,
morning.
yes.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings of 71st Constitution Day. Greetings and wishes. What would be better way to start this day than to remind ourselves of the values which are enshrined in our Indian Constitution in a precise manner, in the form of preamble. I request you all to join me in reminding ourselves of the values which are enshrined in our preamble of the Constitution of India. I'll start. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. We do hereby give to ourselves this Constitution. Thank you. Hope this will drive us always to contribute for better India. With this, I would request Professor Kedelizo Kiki, Chair Professor Dr. Ambedkar Chair, to start our program. Sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tezpur University, Professor Vinod Kumar Jain, Director, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, New Delhi, Dr. B.P. Maji, Speaker, Resource Person of the Day, Resource Person for the Memorial Lecture, Professor N. Sukumar, Political Scientist, University of Delhi, Dean, Head of Departments, faculty from Tezpur University and other institutes, colleges, officers and staff from administration, research colleagues, students, and every other participant. Dr. Ambedkar Chair, Tezpur University, appreciate your support and welcome each one of you to the occasion 71st Constitution Day celebration. As we all know, since 2015, as announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in October 2015, while laying the foundation stone of Dr. B.R.
October 2015, while laying the foundation stone of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Memorial in Mumbai. Constitution Day is celebrated every year on 26th November. On this date, the Constitution of India was adopted by the Constituent Assembly and came into force on 26 January 1950. Now, the Constitution, consisting of 90,000 words, was drafted by 271 men and women, with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as the chief architect and without any foreign consultants. Today, we have more than 2,000 amendments. Now, this very Constitution expressly guarantees every citizen important fundamental rights, which may be subject to only certain restrictions. These rights include the ability to freely speak and express oneself, the freedom of conscience, and to profess, practice, and even propagate a religion, basic protections against arbitrary arrest and detention by authorities, and various cultural and educational guarantees. In memory of Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, under the aegis of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation had set up 21 chairs at various institutes in the country, of which Tezpur University is one. And in fact, Tezpur University is the only chair for Northeast. Now, the chairs were set up in memory of Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and this is a befitting, appropriate tribute to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was a great national leader of the 20th century. He was an intellectual, scholar, statesman, and contributed greatly in the nation building. He has also led a number of movements to emancipate the downtrodden masses and to secure human rights to millions of depressed classes. Dr. Ambedkar Chair, Tezpur University, was given a mandate to function with a thrust area, marginalization, development, and participation in the context of Northeastern region. Dr. Ambedkar Chair, Tezpur University, was given a mandate to act as a core center for Northeastern region, furthering the ideas and philosophy of B.R. Ambedkar with 5 objectives. We have been, Ambedkar Chair, Tezpur University here, we have been trying our best within our humble capacity with support from Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, New Delhi, where Dr. D.P. Maji is here with us again today, and also support from Tezpur University, Vice Chancellor Administration. Vice Chancellor is here with us. And we have been functioning with 5 objectives. The first one is teaching and research, and this also includes training programs. We have been running a number of training programs like RMCs and CDPs, capacity building program. In fact, we are proposing one capacity building program in January, February. I hope some of the scholars who are attending this meeting, this celebration, may join. The second activity, we have been taking up research projects. Recently, we submitted one research project. It was MBCFTC research project on skill development program. In Assam, we have submitted one. Currently, we are engaged, Chair here is engaged with 2 projects, one on annotated bibliography and the other one on evaluation of schemes in the state of Mizoram. The third activity we are doing is we are trying to build library, collecting BAWS and other books on marginalized communities, including books on Northeast. We have been the fourth activity conducting awareness and skill development programs. One of the more recent activity was we engaged Harijan colony in Tezpur town by providing skill development program such as fungi culture and stitching and sewing. We are going to follow up hopefully after this COVID situation becomes improves. And the fifth activity in organizing dialogues and public lectures. Now, Ambedkar Memorial Lecture is one of our core activity, and we plan to bring the lecture series in the form of a published book soon. Now, earlier lectures were delivered by eminent personalities such as Professor Yagati China Rao from JNU, Dr. C. Joshua Thomas from ICSSR NARC, Professor Uma Chakravarti from University of Delhi, Dr. Ananya Vajpayee from the Center for the Study of Development Studies, Delhi. Today, on this occasion, 71st Constitution Day celebration, we present to you the fifth memorial lecture, which will be delivered by Professor Ansu Kumar, a very well-known activist and a political scientist from the University of Delhi. He will deliver the fifth Ambedkar Memorial Lecture on the theme, the Indian Constitution, a roadmap to Prabhuda Bharat. Lastly, I would like to read one quote by B.R. Ambedkar, quote unquote, "So long as you do not achieve social liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail to you." I welcome each and every one of you to this occasion, 71st Constitution Day, and to the memorial lecture. Now I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tezpur University, Professor Vinod Kumar Jain, to give an introductory remark to the occasion. Sir, please.
Thank you, Professor Kiki. It's such a privilege to be part of this gathering, which is connected online in the virtual mode. My greetings to everyone on the occasion of this 71st Constitution Day. Professor Manji, Professor Sukumar, who are the chief guest and the guest of honor, and Professor Kiki, the participants from various institutions. A very good morning to each one of you. As has been mentioned, that on this day, way back in 1949, the people of India resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and gave themselves a constitution which lays down the governance structure, essentially the framework for governance, defining the fundamental political principles. Our constitution establishes the structure of the state, such as legislature, executive, and judiciary. It also lays down procedures and powers of these various organs of the state and that of the government institutions, and sets out fundamental rights, directive principles, and duties of citizens. As has been shown in the preamble also, that it has it reminds, actually, the preamble every year reminds us of the canons of our constitution, the principles of justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Every year we are reminded of this. And it also reminds us of our duties as a citizen, as an ordinary Indian citizen, that we ensure that the people of our country are empowered in a manner that each one of us, irrespective of our religious background, irrespective of our caste or social group, we lead a life of dignity. That's what the chief architect of our constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, had in mind when he, along with many others, authored this, one of the best constitutions of a democratic country in the world. We would be serving, we would be paying our tribute actually to this great son of India if in our individual capacity, wherever we are, either as faculty or students or as administrators in the government institutions like ours, we are doing our job sincerely. If I recall one of the quotes of Dr. Ambedkar, he did say somewhere that doesn't matter how good the constitution may be, if the people who are responsible for execution of the provisions which are there in the constitution, if they are not good, it doesn't serve any purpose. You can have a bad constitution, but if the people are good, they will deliver. It will be good. It will be a good constitution. So it all boils down finally to each one of us, that we do justice to the memory of this great son of India. And we also look at his life's journey, you know, coming from a very humble background, and through sheer hard work, given all the, the difficulties and the discrimination which he might have faced during his early career or during his young age, and later on he established himself as one of the finest intellectuals of the country. And it goes on to show that each one of us, if we really work hard, we have it in us as Indians. We have it in us, given all the constraints. We have it in us to realize our full potential. As you all know, Dr. Ambedkar became the first law minister of our country. The youngsters today, and many of us, and a vast proportion of our population continues to get inspired by his vision, by his principles. So with these words, I greet you all on the Constitution Day, and let us also reflect a bit on the teachings or on the principles by which Dr. Ambedkar lived by, and he espoused those principles and beliefs. And one of the quotes of him, I think, is so relevant today. This is, "I like the religion that teaches the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This is the essence of social democracy." That's what he said. So let us unite, all of us, and also live by another quote of his, which says, "We are Indians, firstly and lastly." So keeping that in mind, may I welcome you on my personal behalf and on behalf of the university, especially Professor Sukumar and Professor Manji, Thank you for being with us on this very important occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, sir. We are Indians, firstly and lastly. I'm repeating what he has quoted. Of course, it's a quote of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Thank you, Vice Chancellor, sir, for setting the tone by your introductory remark. Without saying much, I would like to request now Director, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, New Delhi, Dr. D.P. Maji, to give his remark. Sir, please.
Respected VC, Professor Jain, who just recently gave a profound remark, introductory remark, bringing out the essence of Dr. Ambedkar and his teachings through Constitution for each of us. Professor Kiki, Chair Professor of Dr. Ambedkar Chair at Tezpur Central University, and my good friend, the speaker today, Professor Sukumar, and the research officer at Tezpur Central University, Dr. Ambedkar Chair, Dr. Gautam, and I can see Dr. Manjhi also there from the Patna. Yeah? I find him everywhere, wherever there is a webinar or a seminar kind of thing, I find everywhere. It's a very good thing that he has the academic orientation. And teachers, faculty members at Tezpur Central University, scholars, other participants, I can see more than 90 participants are there today. It's a very, very successful lecture series, I would say. And good morning to all of you. And my best wishes to all of you on this Sunday. As Professor Kiki, just in the introductory remark, he was telling about Dr. Ambedkar chair, how we have 21 chairs. He has already briefed. Each chair has been assigned different thrust areas for cultivation of minds, as Dr. Ambedkar said. The thrust area is relating to the core subjects of the domain area of Dr. Ambedkar, like agriculture, anthropology, justice, sociology, etc., gender studies. And these chairs are doing like 4 or 5 chairs who are the performing chairs. And Tezpur chair happened to be one of the performing chairs, along with the IIPA, then Biswas and others. And a few other chairs, they are just trying to come like to follow the footprints of the successful chairs. Apart from undertaking the research activities as mandated under the chair scheme, Tezpur University is doing some extra work, like out of the 21 chairs, 2 chairs are there, rather 3 chairs, who are doing extra activities, like the impact study. Like apart from this Dr. Ambedkar chair scheme, we have around 15 other schemes, including medical-led scheme, intercaste marriage scheme. So the implementation of
places.
chair scheme. Can you please ask somebody? The implementation of the chair scheme under that like the medical-led scheme, we have assigned the task to Central University, chair at Central University, Tezpur, for the impact study on health scheme in the northeastern states. And similarly, we had assigned the job to IIPA on intercaste marriage scheme. They have submitted the report. On the basis of the report, we will be taking the remedial measures. As you know, these reports and the studies, they give input for the policy advocacy. So we are waiting for the result, the report from the Tezpur Central University. And I would say that Professor Kiki and Dr. Gautam, they are doing excellent job. Last time I attended a program that was a lecture given by Professor Ananya Bajpai from Oxford University Press, and the topic was related to mind. Such a like contemporary topic, and so like mind includes almost everything. As Dr. Ambedkar also said, the ultimate aim of society or the social existence should be cultivation of mind. So it's such a erudite statement. It includes mind, includes everything. So last occasion, this was the theme, and today the theme is this is Indian Constitution Roadmap of Prabuddha Bharata. And the speaker today is my close associate, very renowned political scientist from Delhi. And many people must not be knowing, let me share with all of you, that his activities is not confined to academics, much beyond the academics, as Professor VC sir was telling now, social democracy. He used to extend his helping hand to many students from the deprived sector of the society here in Delhi. And he acts as mentor and provides counseling and guidance. We have a center here in Delhi for the civil service aspirants. So many times he used to come and inspire and provide guide to everybody. And we'll be hearing him today on his insight to the subject. So briefly, I'll say about Prabuddha Bharata. I think Prabuddha Bharata is a awakened India. So awakening, like if you compare with Swami Vivekananda, means awakening means you are just trying to trigger the sleeping ingredients in your mind and to bring it the social consciousness. As you are talking about the social democracy, how Ambedkar talked about the social rights and social democracy. So for a Prabuddha Bharat, my intake would be that first of all, the country has to be unique because we have a lot of diversity. As VC sir was telling, diversity in terms of cultural diversity, religious diversity, many diversities are there. So first of all, India has to be one unique. Then we will talk about unity in diversity. If I delve into the academics regarding unit, I think the concept was given by Herbert Spencer, the British sociologist, who said, society is nothing but a living organism. If you take the clue from him, then go to Talcott Parson, the American sociologist. He is telling society or any entity for that matter, any unit for that matter, has many constituents, many ingredients. And in the constituents, there is always constant interactions. So that if I relate the today to that organism, the living organism, the concept given by Herbert Spencer, or unit, societal unit given by Talcott Parson, I would say that first of all, the preamble starts from we, and before we, like irrespective of our feeling of I or the individual citizen, first we have to realize through our consciousness the feeling of we, then we can act further. So today is such an occasion that we all should contemplate and think about the citizens and how the society to take forward. As our Prime Minister says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Vishwas. So here, sub also, I can correlate it with we. Thank you. All of us will be eagerly waiting to listen to Professor Sukumar sir and the political scientist. And with these words, I thank Dr. Ambedkar Chair at Tezpur University to have invited me to be part of this program. And I have 5 other programs also today. So, thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. D.P. Maji, for your remark, setting the theme again. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you especially for supporting us as always. I would like to request my colleague, Dr. Diyar, to give a introduction of our speaker, Professor N. Sukumar. Before we hand over to Professor Sukumar, Dr. Gopal, please.
Thank you, sir. Professor N. Sukumar needs no introduction. He is so famous now as an academician, as a social scientist, and a wonderful human being. But let me attempt to give a brief introduction for the better understanding of the audience. Professor N. Sukumar, eminent political scientist. He is working in the Department of Political Science in the University of Delhi since 2001. He is a renowned political scientist, as we all know, and a champion of human rights, especially for the disadvantaged groups. He completed his research education from University of Hyderabad and holds expertise in Ambedkar studies, Indian political thought, human rights, social exclusion and inclusion, Dalit politics, and poverty studies. He holds rich administrative experience through association with prestigious institutions such as GNU, MANU, etc. in various capacities. He has authored books on Indian government and politics and published more than 25 articles in reputed journals such as Economic and Political Weekly. He writes continuously in newspaper, blogs, etc. for the social issues. He has delivered more than 120 lectures, presentation at several international and national institutions and media houses. With this brief introduction and with the permission of the speaker, I would like to announce that participants can raise their questions. We can take few questions after the lecture is over, and those questions I would request should be precise, and we'll take few questions with the permission of the speaker once the lecture is over. With this brief introduction, I would request our speaker, guest speaker, Professor N. Sukumar, to continue with the lecture. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I thank Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Vinod Kumar ji, Tezpur University Vice Chancellor, and the Director, Ambedkar Foundation. Thank you for your nice words, sir, Devendra Prasad Banji, and Ambedkar Chair Professor Kiki, a good friend of mine, and also Gautam. I know him when he was part of Delhi University, and also other colleagues, esteemed colleagues who are part of this, lecture from the university and outside, for facilitating me the 5th Ambedkar Memorial Lecture and also the 71st Constitutional Day, celebrations. It's very great occasion, and I can't say no to Tezpur University. I mean, Professor Kiki and many of our friends knows, very well, and I have a lot of respect to, Tezpur University. Once again, I thank. And I also thank audience, within Tezpur and also outside, Tezpur and many other parts of the places, I guess. I can see a few of my batchmates. I don't know how come, they came to know about this, but, I'm so happy to see many of them. Now, by saying this, as Professor Vinod Kumar ji was mentioning about the Trinity, equality, justice, and fraternity, which the bedrock of Ambedkar's, idea, and the entire lecture would be revolving around that. And as rightly mentioned by Maji Saab, the enlightened India, Prabuddha Bharat. So that's why, the title which I constituted, I made, is the Indian Constitution and a roadmap to Prabuddha Bharat, So there is a context why I made it this title that will come at the end of the lecture. So my journey with Ambedkar started from my university days when I did my PhD on Ambedkar. And I keep on working. Whenever you read Ambedkar, you need to revisit Constitution thoroughly. And the Constitution gives you a roadmap towards to all the trinity, like liberty, equality, justice, and fraternity. In fact, we need to add fraternity to that. Where the emancipatory discourse of the India can be visualized, like all other thinkers, of the modern India, who had their, vision towards to what would be the future India. What would be the future India? Similarly, Ambedkar, visualized it as an enlightened India, Prabuddha Bharat. And what is this? And how he visualized this Prabuddha Bharat through his continuous struggles, and also his accommodative nature when he tried to make this constitution, with the support of the entire gamut of the scholars, reformers, political doyens, all those. That's how the constitution was there as a compromising document by different classes, communities together, and we can have this constitution. And I would like to just give you the background in where Ambedkar tried to locate himself and tried to negotiate for such a document. Not he negotiated only for his own self. It is for the idea of nation, where equality becomes a basic fundamental pillar. I don't know how many of we, or maybe maybe many of you might have gone through about the small essay which Ambedkar has written, and that is the one can foreground this entire idea of constitution, and his brief autobiographical essay, Waiting for a Visa, which captures the dilemma of the common person. The common person, whether he or she, whoever it may be, irrespective of the gender, which we can consider as much more the common man as a marginal, marginalized because of his or her social location. And his life work was to radically, after the subjectivity of this person, from begging for leftovers from his or her social superiors, to someone who can boldly face the sun. And when waiting for visa, he narrates how he suffered, even as a bar at law, who comes back, and he faces a kind of discrimination. Then he thought that no, this should not be the future India. Not only in the context of caste, my dear friends. It is in the context of each and every individual, cutting across caste, class, gender, region, ethnicity, X, Y, Z. He wants every individual to enjoy the fruits of equality. That is the idea. So he subjected himself and tried to visualize to frame the constitution in such a way that, look, in future India, that no one should be exploited, discriminated in any form, not just caste. The greatest injustice that the historians has done to Ambedkar is that they have narrowed down Ambedkar to only the caste question, which is really problematic. Ambedkar was the greatest intellectual among the world and also among the country, who visualized the country to have a very enlightened enlightened concerns. Now, as Pratap Bhanu Mehta argues, the preamble of the Indian Constitution exhibits a radical purpose. Radical not in a different sense, radical in a democratic sense. And this purpose, it's that it pulsating heart and unredeemed promise is liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. So this is not because God and history are not important, but it is because our constitution liberates us to imagine. It liberates every individual. It is precisely because of the Constitution we are all together. We are all together. Otherwise, things would have been something different, you know. So liberate us to imagine them in whichever way we choose. You know, Constitution gives us, you know, such kind of, you know, limited, you know, liberty, you know, to choose the way of life which you want, but not to create any kind of hurdle to the other duty. As Professor Vice Chancellor was mentioning, it's not only the rights, but also the duties are very important, you know, what Ambedkar, you know, was mentioning. So it is not just a political project or a, you know, making Constitution. One should not think it as a political project. It is also a project based or to attain economic and, you know, social project. Constitution should not look at only in a political context. Constitution should look in the context of both economic and social context. That is what the greatness of Ambedkar. So historically, you know, if you see, the inegalitarian nature of Indian society has been challenged by the Buddha, Mahavir, Sufi Bhakti traditions, and also later on in colonial times with many other thinkers. Because there is a context why I also like, you know, Gandhi, you know, Nehru, Patel, you know, many other, you know, thinkers were there. Also the other thinkers whom we have not much, you know, read. Also, I would like to mention that also, because whenever we teach Indian political thought or modern Indian political thinkers, we have a set of thinkers who has been already, you know, been visible. You know, that's where I question the historians that, you know, it should be more inclusive. Anyway, so there are, you know, during colonial times, there are other, you know, the Dalit Baujan intellectuals like Jyotiba Phule, Narayan Guru, Periyar, Ambedkar argued for equal rights, leading to representation in the public sphere. What is important is that how representation is facilitated for the underprivileged sections. It could be socially, not necessarily socially, but also economically, cutting across, you know, the groups, the communities. It can be landless. Okay, it can be, you know, anyone from, you know, other, you know, kind of backgrounds also. So, of course, I mean, the caste is the vantage point where one needs to see, and, you know, the way discrimination perpetuated in the name of caste has been by the, you know, text, or it could be any number of, you know, cultural traditions. The right to be human was contested idea, you know. So that is where, you know, if you see that, you know, when Ambedkar, you know, traveled, you know, he was fetching for water and, you know, he was humiliated. Well, he was not being considered as human. That was his basic idea, that how to ensure this humanity in the minds, cultivating the mind. You know, that's what, you know, Dr. Maggi was also mentioned. You know, you need to cultivate a mind of a sense of, you know, humanity that need to be inculcated in the minds. So, you know, like, you know, see, there are many things which, you know, we are all, it's not that we are not knowing that, you know, but still, even after 70 years of independence, still we are looking for such kind of, you know, aspiration. Please consider me as human being. Dalits, tribal, you know, minorities, poor, cutting across, you know, the communities. They're all looking for, languishing that, look, I mean, consider me as equal, dignity, you know, or, you know, respect to, you know, Vice Chancellor and Ambedkar Chair Director Sahab was also mentioning the idea of dignity is very important to recognize the other as human being. You know, that is where, you know, his idea of rights, this provoked Ambedkar to demand rights and representation. How do I represent? You know, whom do I represent? I should not represent only a particular caste. Human beings should represent each and every human being who is in need, who wants a sense of, you know, rights, a sense of, you know, belongingness. So the representation, not only in the context of political representation, we need to understand all kinds of representation. He felt that, you know, the communities who have been denied this representation due to different reasons. So rights and representation, he has focused. Then, Ambedkar was of the view that the good constitution is the only way for social transformation. You know, he might have read a number of constitutions across the globe, And he comes with, a kind of great, synthesis, a kind of thesis, antithesis, and constitution, our Indian constitution is a synthesis of many constitutions across the globe. And he felt that the social transformation, a good constitution is important. Is there any bad constitution? There is no bad constitution at all. A good constitution is very important. He provided a systematic understanding of rights to ensure equality, justice, and fraternity. I'm re-emphasizing all the three: equality, justice, and fraternity, precisely because these are the aspirations are still people are looking for. Cutting across, 70 years.
Now, being
imperative for participating
American Center का सामने है.
Participatory democracy is very important. So how do you make everybody participate? How do you make everybody part of the institution? Okay, institutional. And for Ambedkar, equal representation. It's not that representation per se. Representation.
आप इतना पूछ रहे हो, सुनो, ये 25 kg मार गए हैं,
right.
तो और क्या पूछ रहे हो?
Also, not only
क्यों पूछ रहे हो?
Equality of representation, but also
हमारा और एक बिल्डिंग है, हमारा 3 बिल्डिंग है.
and
केजरीवाल के घर का सामने जो 22 अलीपुर रोड, वो भी हमारा घर है. ठीक है ना? अभी यहाँ बैठे.
Democracy cannot endure.
मैं वो सेमिनार पे हूँ, गेस्ट हूँ वहाँ. समझ रहे हो ना?
To have concerns are very significant. So therefore, citizenship for Ambedkar meant more than the right to vote, universal franchise. It's not that right to vote, universal franchise is something to do with only citizenship. It is more than that. What he says, I quote him from his volume 2, page number 337. He says that the franchise from being a transaction concerned with the making of the ballot paper stands for direct and active participation in the regulation of terms upon which associated life shall be sustained and the permit of good carried on. Associated life. See how he want the future India to attain this associated life. Because associated life is something was denied because of different kinds of hierarchical, social concerns in the nature of the society. So this was an attempt to constitutionally create one's own associate way of life based on equality, freedom, and fraternity. And one can discern Ambedkar's abiding, belief in democracy and constitutionalism. He simply believed in democracy and constitutionalism. Parliamentary democracy, not just democracy, parliamentary democracy, and that belief made him to such a visionary that his all contemporaries trusted Ambedkar to draft the constitution. Otherwise, if you would have not had that kind of intellect ability, Ambedkar, today we would have not had such kind of a greatest document in front of us. So drafting a new constitution for a newly independent state was no means mission. One also needs to keep in mind that democracy essentially means certain liberality of mind and society, both lacking in India at that point of time. Partly, we can say that even in contemporary times, not in contemporary, even if you see the 70 years of where, we are not owning the constitution. That is one thing which I really want to, it pinches me. But of course, as in the beginning itself, I said the constitution, which makes all of us to come here and to make, the idea of India much more enlightened. So Ambedkar foregrounded parliamentary democracy within the constitutional framework. And this was extremely essential since Indian society was alien to democratic ideas. Of course, from Buddhism, if you go back to Buddhism, where you can see that, the democratic principles, Buddhist Sangha, had a greatest democratic, egalitarian principles, which also has, been taken. And the reason why we have established in this constitution a political democracy is because what he says, that we do not want to install by any means whatsoever a perpetual dictatorship or any particular body of people. He wants parliamentary democracy to be not any kind of dynastic rule or a dictatorial leadership. That democracy where it provides representation, it provides space for questioning within the system. And that is the beauty of Indian democracy, parliamentary democracy. And while we have established political democracy, it is also the desire that we should lay down our ideal economic democracy. And my dear friends, what does he mean by economic democracy? Even till today, I am telling, there are people who are languishing for twice a meal. People are suffering with poverty and malnourishment. With all developmental goals, whatever we have achieved, I'm not saying anything about that. His idea of economic democracy is that distribution of resources. That is where you see that he wants land to be nationalized. If his economic vision, if you read, that was very interesting thing which yet to be explored by academicians. His economic principles, which has become a bedrock for the future. His ideas on farmers, his ideas on employment. Today's National Employment Guarantee Act is also partly, one can look back, and his labor laws, everything, has his economic vision. So economic democracy. See, the Article 37, 38, 39 clearly mentions that, look, property should not be concentrated only in few hands. And see, now, these articles are very important. One should not see, people own thousands and thousands of acres. Corporate, it's not state socialism. His idea of state socialism to attain economic democracy is very important. Now, the next point. And through his lived experiences, he realized that to create an egalitarian society, resources should not the exclusive privilege of a chosen few, but rather be accessible to all. Education must be accessible to all. Health must be accessible to all. The pandemic has given a way, lot of interesting, changes within the society, positive, negative. How do we cope up with these things? And, you see that how health-wise vulnerable, government is trying its level best to, facilitate. But at the same time, the private hospitals, corporate hospitals are trying to loot the poor in the name of not only poor, everybody has become vulnerable in this kind of pandemic times. So economic democracy, wealth concentration will not provide any kind of economic democracy, and he wants such kind of thing. And the more equal the social and economic rights of the people, the more able they are out to utilize their freedom. Suppose, how do you ensure that you are free? I bring the Amartya Sen's here, the idea of freedom, development as freedom. You need to attain all these, social, economic democracy so that the idea of individual freedom will be achieved, And I'll take another 10-15 minutes. I hope I'm not taking much more time. So as Thorat argued, Professor Thorat argued, if people are deprived of security and employment, they become a prey to mental and physical servitude incompatible with the essence of liberty. Without economic security, liberty is not worth having. You may say that, okay, liberty constitution guarantees you liberty, but it also, guarantees, the directive principles of state policy says that state is providing all kinds of economic activities, economic provisions, so that economic security, not only the responsibility of the state, but the responsibility of the communities and also the civil society to ensure that all others also will have the economic, privileges. Distributing, the land reforms. Employment, generating employment, These are the basic fundamental necessities for Ambedkar to realize that, how the idea of Prabuddha Bharat, his Prabuddha Bharat is this. So Ambedkar's commitment to democracy as the mode of government was unwavering, but he argued that democracy needed to become a way of life. How many of us individuals who cultivate our everyday life as a democratic way? How many of we democratize our family? Or how many of we democratize our relationships between others, between we and, the other? The family, democratization of family, democratization of the institutions is very much essential, and we need to cultivate it as a way of life. I must have respect to other fraternity. That is what. So, and his writings dwell extensively on such monumental issues as the presidential versus parliamentary form of government, the relationship between the executive and legislature, the role of the judiciary and the judicial review, constitutional bodies such as election commission, and the role of, the federal division of powers, states in a federation, the role of the governor, the constitution and the legislature, constitutional amendments, political parties and public opinion. He never left anything in his idea, whatever, voluminous ideas, voluminous thought processes. And his ideas provokes every individual to think what is happening to the democracy, or what needs to happen. If not what is happening, what needs to happen also. I am putting it in a very long journey of this democracy. So the formal framework of democracy is of no value and would indeed be a misfit if there was no social democracy. And he realized that politicians will never apprehend that democracy was not a form of government but a form of society. It may not be necessary for a democratic society to be marked by unity, by community of purpose. There is a community of purpose, We should think everybody is a community. We are Indians by first and last. That means what? It is that Indians as a community, the community of purpose to protect the integrity, to protect the idea of the nation, the Ambedkar's idea of nation. But it does unmistakably involve two things, such as it is an attitude of the mind and attitude of respect and equality towards their fellows. And secondly, it is a social organization free from rigid social barriers. That should be the thing. Therefore, we are still yet to looking for attaining such kind of a total democracy. He held constitutional morality to be inviolated for democracy to flourish. Any constitution, however well drafted, is merely the skeleton, for the flesh has to be located in what Ambedkar pointed out as constitutional morality. Pratap Bhanu Mehta has extensively written about this, constitutional morality. He critiqued hereditary monarchy and the tyranny of the majority over minority. Even though the majority is carrying on the government, the minority rights has to be safeguarded. Since Indian society was characterized by unequal, treatment based on social privileges, Ambedkar foregrounded equality in law and administration as the third principle, which is a very important principle. There are 6 principles he gives, success for democracy. And the institutions which are supposed to be, protect all these things are also becoming becoming biased. That is a worrisome. That is a worrisome, which we need to seriously retrospect. And last couple of points, or maybe 3 points, which I would like to mention. Why did he prevail the idea of constitution for the Prabuddha Bharat? Or how do we understand this Prabuddha Bharat through this prevailing the constitution? Throughout his political life, Ambedkar utilized different instruments to negotiate citizenship rights, with the power that be whether it is the colonial state or the caste-ridden Hindu social order. Interestingly, his satyagraha, protests, boycotts and debates provides an inkling to his ideas on constitutionalism even before the advent of the Constituent Assembly or making of the Constitution. it was basically targeted to broaden the origin of public law so as to accommodate the interests of different communities by challenging the traditional laws. See, Constitution as a public law, and perhaps the one thinker who emphasized on the legal literacy among the people, and the Constitution is one document which gives you a sense of broad legal framework. Legal literacy. One can, the Constitution which gives you a sense of security. And his idea of, the way, he tried to meticulously, privileging the Constitution other than anything else. The Constitution which makes the individual safe to attain their, citizenship rights and also fundamental rights. One may say, there are problems and we need to negotiate. No, Ambedkar said that n number of laws might come, but people must own this law. Until people owns these laws, until people owns this Constitution, there is no meaning for it. And in fact, his let me bring that, his 1950 26 January, what he said. India would be a democratic country in the sense that India from that day would have a government of the people, by the people and for the people. Then then the same thought comes to my mind. What he says that, the same thought, he keeps on, okay, what will happen to India once if it attains freedom? What would happen to democratic constitution? Will she be able to maintain it or will she lose it again? Let me repeat. This is a very pertinent point. What would happen to her democratic constitution or a good constitution? Will she be able to maintain it or will she lose it again? He had certain apprehensions that whether the painstaking of making constitution will be fully respected and implemented, or will it lose again this? And this is the second thought that comes to my mind and to Ambedkar's mind. I'm quoting him, and makes me anxious as the first. He becomes very anxious the day he introduces constitution. The roots, Ambedkar was aware that despite political and cultural, unity, Indians lacked a sense of fraternity. So he wants that fraternity to be achieved through constitution. The roots of democracy lie not only in the form of government, but the social relationships. These social relationships are very important when it comes to the society. Within the society, do we really have a sense of, a communicable relationship? Communication is becoming, problematic within the society. I mean, that is where we need to bring Ambedkar. The social relationships is very important, and the terms of association between the people who form the society, who is part of the society. Community of purpose, desire to welfare. No, community of purpose, which I already mentioned. There is a purpose, the purpose of attaining equality, justice, fraternity, what not. A sorrowless, Begumpura, Ravidas and other, people who, Kabir, Ravidas and all these people, they've envisioned, Begumpura, Begum, sorrowless kind of society. Ambedkar was Prabuddha Bharat. That is what, he wanted in his Prabuddha Bharat. So the community of purpose, desire for welfare. Welfare is a very important thing that socialist democracy or democratic socialism or state socialism, which he was envisioning. We are withering from that ideas now. The loyalty to the public end. We are not bothered towards the public institutions. We are bothered about our own self, emancipation or self, making our own, comforts. Loyalty to public ends are very important to achieve the, these, three trinity. And who from the society, people who from, loyalty to public ends and the mutuality of cooperation are essential hallmarks for the democratic society. Mutual cooperation. I should not think that if somebody is facing a problem, that is not my problem, that is some other community's problem. If somebody is dying with hunger, one should retrospect on that, why this person is dying with hunger, why women are suffering with malnourishment, why children are suffering with, all kinds of, things. So the cooperation, the mutuality of cooperation are essential marks of the democratic society. Lastly, last, 2-3 points. For him, social democracy meant a way of life which recognizes all the trinity. These principles do not exist in watertight compartments. It should not, we can't say that, okay, liberty, equality, all these things, it flourish. It should, all these things do not exist in watertight compartments, but from a union of trinity, in the sense that to divorce one from each other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy. Without liberty, equality cannot be achieved. Without equality, justice cannot be achieved. All the three are correlated. All three principles. If you believe in one, okay, I may say that I believe in liberty, but I don't believe in equality. That becomes, contradiction, or that becomes, problematic. So we need to have all the three together to achieve the, purpose of democracy. And essentially, Ambedkar believed that the state is an indispensable political organization. That is where he gives more significance to the state. Okay, because society, somewhere that it will take time for society to retrospect on its own, concerns, but state is there, which is an elected democratic representative state, and it is he believed that state is an indispensable political organization for the welfare of the society. As a necessary institution, it functions for the welfare of the people in the civilized and democratic space. The Constitution provided a roadmap to the state to eliminate socio-political economic inequalities by enduring better opportunities through the suppressed and oppressed classes or the most needed communities, which is becoming, again, there is a concern, serious concern on attaining economic inequality. He believed that the state is a positive institution, and he had great, faith on the state. He was very positive towards the state for the protection of the downtrodden, minorities and their rights to enjoy freedom from want and fear. And finally, the state has to ensure internal peace and prevent external aggression. He strongly believed that rights without remedies are meaningless. Of course, duties are very important. Hence, the safeguards he contemplated against the possible intervention of the state or the individual was through the judicial power, guided by the due process of law. By due process of law, judiciary, he had greatest faith on judiciary, that which will protect the interests of the most marginalized communities. He emphasized that human aspirations and dignity, where our respect to Professor Vice Chancellor was mentioning about the idea of dignity, should be constitutionally protected. For him, rights were not merely standards, they're ends as well as means, in that they provide the theoretical perspective and the necessary empowerment that is required for achieving social justice. So like many thinkers, intellectuals, both other than Dalit Bahujan and Dalit Bahujan, intellectuals of his time, while formulating the vision of the just world, just society or just world, Ambedkar too sought to refashion religion, but not as opium of the society, not as an opium of the social and cultural elites. Instead, as Gail Onwet rightly points out, he saw Buddhism as a liberationist cosmology, which also included a just economic order, and that would usher in liberty, equality, and fraternity. Only by enforcing constitutionalism, that is where his emphasization of constitutionalism, can we, it's not I, or it's not someone else, or it's not some community, or it's not some group belongs to caste, class, religion. No, we create Prabuddha Bharat, which would be a real golden age of the future. That is what, his idea of enlightening India, Prabuddha Bharat, was. Hope, the end, I emphasize, hope. We, the people of India, will cherish the Constitution and strive to create a just society. Thank you once again for Professor Vice Chancellor Sahab and Maji ji and Professor Kiki and Gautam, many other friends. So once again, thanks for giving opportunity to share my ideas, which I'm working as part of my PhD thesis. Every time I look back, I come out with new insights, it's very enthusiasm to speak about Constitution, which is very important. Not just Namin Ambedkar. I teach all thinkers as part of my pedagogy subject. But I thank you very much, sir, respected Vice Chancellor Saab and Professor Kiki and Dr. Gautam and many others who are part of this, making me, I'm so happy. Thank you. That's what I can say that. Thank you, sir. Yeah. I stop here. If there is any, I don't know if there is any questions they can type. I can, if time permits for everybody, I can answer. Thank you once again. I hope I did not took much time.
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we haven't received any query because the lecture was so fluent, and I think everyone has understood it so well. Important aspect of the Constitution, Indian Constitution, which is Prabuddha Bharat. We strive to make India an enlightened country, and I think the Baba Saheb has highlighted many times, and it was social endosmosis. Till the time we don't achieve social endosmosis, everything is futile. So we have to create a system where we feel that we are related to each other. If we don't feel that relation, I think there's no point. People are living, I think when we call human being as a social animal, it derives meaning through the relationship only. So thank you, sir, so much for highlighting those things, that liberty, equality, and justice, as well as the fraternity to which they are leading, is important, and we should strive for that. It was also highlighted by our Vice Chancellor, sir, and Maji, sir, that our Indian Constitution, as you have also mentioned rightly, that it is a roadmap. It is just a guide. We have to follow. We have to choose whether we are interested in that or not. So we have to prove the goodness of the Indian Constitution, of the document, which we are living every day. Till now, I think we are proving the goodness, and I hope we continue to do so in the future also. And thank you, sir, for highlighting that briefly, that Dr. Ambedkar had a life full of hardships, with to strive for the best. Because I think that makes the life meaningful for everyone, and he was making it to the best of his capacity, thinking that it will lead to best for the countrymen. So throughout, he was thinking about the country, and if we try to reduce, as we generally do in our discussion, we try to reduce Ambedkar to particular caste, I think this is doing injustice to his humongous contribution, which we are living every day. So we should not do that. Rather, as you have mentioned, the equality, which should be in the form of representation at the key areas, especially like education, which could be most potent way of empowerment, and core to establish real democracy in and social. And therefore, the resources which have productive potential should be distributed with equity. And therefore, the role of state. The state is important. And as Sir has also mentioned from Dr. Ambedkar, that the state socialism is really very important if we are really concerned about every citizen of the country and not for the privileged few, as it used to be in the colonial or pre-colonial period, largely pre-colonial, and which continued in the colonial and thereafter also. But our constitution is trying to put a check on that, especially the arbitrariness, which is trying to keep the things in the hands of privileged few. So I think that is a message which is clear for every one of us to make our country an enlightened one too. So with those few words, I would like to, Sir. Okay, sir, we have two questions. Meanwhile, we have received. So shall I take those questions, sir?
Yeah, I'm going through it. I'm going through it, and I'll.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Only two questions have come.
Yeah.
So if you want, then you can respond. Yes, sir.
So Vikas raised some question, but look, it is, see, what he mean by social democracy is to eliminate social inequalities cutting across communities. Fine. There are politics, politics can be from any corner. It is not that one particular political ideology will use Dalits, across the political ideologies, they use Dalits. The only thing is that one needs to be more conscious about what is happening. That's it. At that level, I would like to answer that, it is being, politics are being used by Dalits by every political party, not only one particular ideology. So, that is where I was emphasizing in my lecture, 70 years, not, a few particular years, 70 years, political parties were trying to use, and, so also that is where Ambedkar want, the community people to enlighten themselves, and to become politically more, enlightened and more active. That's it. I mean, so it's all individual choices. Sometimes, even, his idea of, individual choice of going towards a particular party cannot be prevented. The only thing is that to what extent, where, who are utilizing whom is the concern. Number two, given the evils of society, Ambedkar was so positive about the state. The idea of positive state is not sufficient to make a democracy society. If it is, how can we understand Ambedkar? See, look, it is, precisely, because, society, there are a lot of, social constraints. He depended vehemently on the state. That's where state, economic development, economic concerns, everything, he wants state, parliamentary democracy. Through state, through parliamentary democracy will attain this kind of, positiveness. But it is not only the state, the people, the society. He also cautioned, look, n number of things can come, but until unless if we don't own and make the other to get benefit of these things, so the majority in economic resources context, just now, that's what Gautam was mentioning about it, the privileged must seriously think that where from these privileges comes and how these privileges need to be distributed. Land reforms, that is where, state must seriously think on these issues rather than, giving land towards to corporates, rather than giving land, employment, all kinds of, economic activity is very important rather than any other thing. State should seriously think on economic activity until unless every citizen gains square a meal. So it is not only state, but also the institutions, society. That is where I am very much scared to call civil society, though it is a very important component. Civil, yet that civility to be is yet to attain in this society. So somewhere we need to strive for this civility to attain, so that the idea of positive state, I mean, we need to look state in a positive sense, not because of something is happening and we need to, of course, these things, many things, we have seen past 70 years how state has changed its nature, how state has disowned the marginal people. So, but again, there is a policy dissemination where state is trying to own, but at least, I mean, there is a contradiction. State is owning in the context of policy making, but also state is disowning in the context of changing its economic, context. So we have a number of issues. We need to negotiate with state. We need to negotiate with others. Dialogue is necessary. Without dialogue, without a democratic, dialogue, we can't do anything else. So that is where the idea of parliamentary, it is the implementing agencies, politics, all these things. Now, apart these two things, everything is fine. But the politics and implementing agencies are problematic, and even the people. We need to own the responsibility. Duty is very important. The conscience of purpose, and the constitutional morality, that is where, so the constitutional morality is very important. Issues are there, problems are there. Yes, by highlighting problem, we also, perhaps Ambedkar is one thinker who gave solutions to each and every problem he raised. I'm sure that no other thinker many thinkers has raised issues, but it was very compartmental. But Ambedkar raises the question and gives the answer. And please go through his state socialism. You will come to know about what he meant about it and why he was very much positive towards the state. Thank you very much. Yeah, there is some other question. Should I answer, or is the time? We can clearly witness the welfare state is another form of cap. Look, I mean, see, that is where you have to play a role. You and me have to play a role. We need to correct the system. We need to question. There is nothing wrong in questioning the state, but in a democratic way, in a constitutional way. You say that Constitution says this, direct to principles of state policy says this. Please do this. That is what our demand must. So, if we keep quiet, the politics of presence is important than the politics of silence. That's my one-line answer. The politics of presence is important. So how do you present yourself? You need to speak, you need to write, you need to talk in a very democratic way. But if we keep quiet, then done. Of course, there are many issues which one can understand, but utopian ideas, utopian society, concerns. But we need to live with hope and positivity. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Piki. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your elaborate response also, and for highlighting that the Constitution, the document which was given by Baba Saheb, is not a static document, rather very dynamic, and it can act according to the situation, dynamic situation, be it capitalism or socialism. It is very much open to everything, and that is why everything was allowed. And I think that is the main reason that India has adopted mixed form of the development, where every goodness from every form of system is allowed. So we have to choose. We have to choose wherever it is necessary to draw something from capitalism, and wherever state has to interfere, state should take responsibility. So I think a mix of all is what has been suggested by Baba Saheb, and it is well documented in the Constitution. And sir, thank you so much for highlighting that. With these few words, I would like to thank Professor N. Sukumar sir, our guest speaker, for giving erudite lecture, and which was so lucid also, so that anyone from any discipline could understand. And you have accepted our request at a very short notice. So sir, we are so much thankful, and we are also thankful to our Vice Chancellor sir, who has agreed to become part of this program, this event, and he has given his valuable remarks. So sir, we are so much thankful. We are thankful to Dr. D.P. Maji sir, who is our continuous source of inspiration as well as source of survival in the chair. And sir, you have spared your valuable time for this event, unlike other times, to be part of it. Thank you so much, sir, for your continuous support. We would also like to thank our university, the support system, especially we would like to mention Registrar Sir and other members in the administration who are continuously supporting us in different forms. We are also thankful to our LAC members, local advisory committee members of Dr. Ambedkar Chair, Tezpur University, for their continuous support in all our activities. We are thankful to faculty members, different faculty members in the university, as well as outside, who provide support whenever we need it. We are thankful for research scholars and, most importantly, participants from different institutions who have spared their time to make this event successful. And lastly, we are thankful to Amarnath ji, our technical assistant, who has made this possible to conduct this event. With these few words, we would like to thank everyone. I would like sir to say something. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we are thankful so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah. All the best and have a nice time. Have a nice constitutional day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Should I
sir.
sign out?